it hasn't been, you know what it was for me? Not so much the physical, but the mental.
Yeah.
Like I've had this like mental fog, and that's kind of been lifted. I don't know if it's the diet or the exercise or both, but I feel so much better,
Yeah.
like, and the guy at the gym, he's like this ex-Marine, and he's like a total, but he's a really cool guy, and he's like, you're 46, your goal is not to be in some bodybuilding contest. Your goal is to be 66 and still be agile and mobile enough to be playing with your grandkids. And I said, that's a good goal.
Hey there, we're back. You know what? This week we have a guest. Actually, it's not first time. Osvaldo Gomez. How you doing, Ozzy?
Doing good. This is good. This is the third time I'm on here.
I
I feel
think
honored to be here, that you guys keep calling me. It's either that or you're desperate and you're scraping the
No,
bottom of the barrel.
no, no,
no.
not true. No, not at all. In fact, in my opinion, I've talked to Jake about this. Very strong guest, Ozzy. Very great communicator. Holy cow, you're a teacher. That's a given, kind of, but it's not a given.
Ah,
Very strong communicator, and
thank you.
yeah, we
I'm,
love having you on.
I like being here. I like talking to you guys.
Oh, good.
You guys, I'm a listener of your podcast. And
You're
I
the
gotta say,
one.
let me start off by throwing something back to you.
Oh, please.
A couple episodes, it might have been the cell phone one, the 7 minute one. Uh, Ruben, Jake asked you a question whether his gray made him look
Oh,
dignified
thank you.
or old. And Ruben, you shot back at him and said, no, just old.
That
And I
was
thought that was
helpful.
rude, man. That was
Thank you.
rude.
Thank you. Somebody is on my side. Finally. Thank you, Osvaldo. Thank
He's
you.
your
You hear
brother,
that,
man.
Ruben? That was rude.
If you can't be your brother's hype man,
Can can I say this? Can I say this though? Hold on. Hold on. This is why I didn't want to say he was gray or old. This is what Jake does though to me. He goes, "Hey Ruben, what do you think? Do I look dignified with my beard?" And I go, "Let me ask you, Ruben. Oh, do I have a gray or do I have my beard?"
All right. I
Okay,
think you're.
let me say, "Ruben, let me answer you." And then I go, "You just look old." Because I was frustrated.
I was like, oh, you're
Not
not
very
gonna,
patient.
as brothers, you have that kind of joshing with each other, and you throw out the old and think, okay, he's gonna come around and hype him up, and you never did.
No,
I
you
You never,
left me
did.
you
there.
just left it at old.
Yeah.
I'm going to concede that was rude, Jacob.
Oh, thanks, brother.
First time, because to
It is
me,
first.
I look at Ozzy as kind of a mentor in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Even though I'm older, I listen to Ozzy and I
Yeah.
pay attention. I'm going to do something I've never done in the history of Pod and Deliver, maybe in the history of my life.
Wow,
Jacob, I'm sorry.
wow.
I'm gonna get emotional.
Sorry.
Welcome,
Thank
Jake.
you, Ruben.
I am sorry.
I don't even know if I could go on. This is the best
I,
episode we've had so far.
I'm
Oh
here to
wow!
change stuff. I'm here to
Thank you,
change.
Oz. Yeah, you might.
And
We might have you come on
this is
every week.
probably the second thing I've changed on here, because I think the first one, I think I told Ruben that he's got to frame his head in the video, and
Oh
I
yeah.
kind of like the Dodger bobblehead on one side and the Beatle album. I think that's good. I'm going to take credit for that, if you don't mind.
Oh, you also said the plant, and I do have a plant right here, but it's
Yeah,
Jay, cut this because the plant's right. I'm gonna put it right here.
I
there it
think
is.
there it is. Yeah.
There it is. There you go. See,
I
now
was
you're
just
framed.
watering it. Yeah, I have it. All right,
All right.
we're set. We're square.
Very good. Okay, so let's get back. Let's get back to business.
Yes.
Hey, Oswaldo. You know what? I think I've been to a Kelly Gallagher workshop with you, but I know you've been to them, and I have, and I'm not sure about Ruben, but I think you're a believer in him. Is there a strategy? Because this episode's dedicated to Kelly Gallagher,
Yeah.
regarding something that you learned and you brought it back to your classroom.
I was, in preparation for today, I kind of went back and I realized that I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff. Because when I would read his books, I'd write linear notes, and then I'd go back and type them to make some quick access PDF for myself. And I'd forgotten how many good strategies he has, and worse yet, how many that I haven't used yet. But some of the ones that the immediate ones that I use right away, to start with writing, right? one of the things that I immediately took away from him is that the students need to see teachers write. That you as a teacher, and I think I mentioned this before, you as a teacher are the best writer in the classroom. There are better writers than us out there. There are better writers than us in our own campus, but in that enclosed space of the classroom, there's a very good probability that we as teachers are the best writers in that room. So we need to have those students see us write, not just for the good level of writing that we can produce, but so that they can see us mess up too. Like I have my iPad with my Apple Pencil, and I project what I'm writing, and I misspell words. I'm a horrible speller, so I misspell words, and instead of doing the erase tool to erase it, I just scribble my black line over it so they can see that, oh, Mr. Gomez messed up. And just having them see that Mr. Gomez is doing this too. He can do this. He's not just giving us something to do. He's actually doing it with us. That was one of the most powerful things that I took away from one of Gallagher's books, and it's worked great. And I've kept it for years, and I don't plan on letting that go because they need to see. They need to see.
And Oz, I've done that too as well, because I remember Kelly sharing that, and the kids really, I think, benefit from it. I mean, now it could be a paragraph, it could be a short response, right? It could be an essay, I guess. But as long as they see you up there just kind of struggling with it, even it's like, hey, what's a good word? Even asking them, right? I wonder what's a good word for this. And then they'll say, oh yeah, they'll say a word, you go, oh yeah, that's a good one. And then you get in, and it just seems like they're with you, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like even that struggle, that wrestling of figuring out what am I going to write next, they need to see that. And even better, like you said, if you can draw them into that, like, I want to say this, guys, but like, how do I say this? Somebody help me here. And then you're creating something together, and you're getting them involved in that thought process. And you let them go, and before you know it, you got a room full of 30 teenagers writing quietly. And I did my job,
I don't know that aspect of Gallagher, but the idea of writing and editing with students and showing them your own work. I haven't done it as in terms of essay writing, but I've done it when I did creative writing units. And I'll do a Halloween story contest where students have to write a scary story. And I say, here's my scary story.
Yeah.
Man, we do that. I said, here's the struggle. This is hard. I rewrote it. It is powerful stuff, isn't it? It becomes fun. Teaching is fun.
So that's kind of leading off to another Gallagher branch. It does become fun. Like, we all have our textbooks and we all have our curriculum or whatever. But one of in another one of his books, I think it was one of the latest ones, I think it's called 180 Days. He co-wrote it with another teacher. Gallagher, I don't know if he's still teaching, but he was in Santa Ana here in Southern California in a barrio school, right? And he co-wrote this book 180 Days with Penny Kittle, and she is in the East Coast in Vermont, I think. And they planned their year together, and they offered kind of a map for the whole curricular year. And their first unit that they suggested is to start with narrative writing, because if there's anything that kids love to do, is they love to write about their lives. They love to write to talk about their lives and themselves. So what better way than a narrative unit to start your school year, just to get them used to writing, and they have.
Do you have them do journals, Oz, like to do some of that?
Yeah. One of the required things that my students need is a notebook. You can bring in your own spiral notebook, but if not, you have the those composition books that the district offers, and that's fine too. And I try to have those kids, I do. I have those kids write every day, even if it's just a half page, something, because those we considered it as being at the school where I'm at, Elizabeth Learning Center, we're a K through 12 school, so the high school is only about 700 kids. There's only one other teacher that teaches the same thing I do, 11th grade English. And I'm kind of lucky that I have Jake, I don't know if you remember her, Noemi Villasenor. She's back
Oh my
at our
gosh, she's
school.
back.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're co-teaching for the first time, and we agreed that we're going to try this, and we have those kids write every day, even if it's a half page to a page, and we consider those seeds. Like we're creating these little seeds, and by the end of the week, you have about 2 or 3 seeds. By the end of 2 weeks, you have about 3 to 5 seeds. Of those 3 to 5, pick one that stands out to you, and we're going to see if we can polish that up even more.
I like that.
That's worked really good. Yeah.
So you're saying that throughout a week they write every day, even if it's a half page, and they choose from these half page, could be longer, and they say which of these has promise
Yeah.
you could build on. And
Yeah.
and are you saying that from that journal or that seed, it could be an essay, it could be a thought piece, it could be a story, poem, or am I looking too much into this?
No, no, not at all. Like for example, in that first unit, that narrative unit, when I have them start looking for the very first time, they're looking at their first set of seeds. Before I have them look back at their writing. I tell them, like, this is a narrative unit. These are some of the things that you eventually, your final draft, your polished draft needs to have. Voice, dialogue, da 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 da. So knowing these things, let's go back into your seeds. Which one would you feel like you can really kind of flush out? Which one sounds like you can really say more on? And it really works good, because once you kind of let them in that moment where I have them go back to their notebook, this is my opportunity to go back to them. And again, everything that I'm saying here is all Gallagher. It's my moment to go back to them and have these really quick mini conferences with them. Jake, which one are you leaning towards? One? This one? Yeah, I like this one. Do you think you can kind of say something else with that? Good. Ruben, which one do you have? Do you think you can say? And it's just like you're touching base with them, these little mini conferences. And that really helps them kind of develop their ultimately their final draft. And it's just good to have them. I always compare their final draft to their very first seed. Their very first seed is like this, and then their final draft is like 2-3 pages long, and it's like, wow, look what I did, right?
It's such a lesson in the idea of editing, building ideas, creating, building your imagination when they do it themselves, as opposed to you show somebody else doing it. They did it, and you show it from the seed to final product. I think that's great.
And I think Gallagher will say that that's essential to having kids write better, that it has to have meaning to them. We're all guilty once upon a time of just telling the kids, here's your prompt, write on it. But if the kids don't have ownership of that prompt, they're gonna not care. Their writing's gonna suck. As we all do. I don't have any interest in this, so I'm not here for it. So if we give them choice and opportunity for choice, and to have them come up with something on their own, then they have that ownership of their product, and the end result is just going to be great. And like you said, use the word fun. It's going to be fun along the way, not just for them, but for yourself as well. Because again, I write with them, and I know my final product, I like it because I had ownership. I chose it.
I was going to share something, Osvaldo, regarding and I'm kind of looking through the eyes of a social studies teacher, okay, not an English teacher. Do you feel like there's two-parter here? Do you feel like the students since COVID are struggling more than they did before, or do you feel like they just bounce back and they're still doing good work, or the same work that they did before?
This is what, year 3 now after
I think this is like year
distance
3.
learning.
Yeah.
That first year when we came back, can we all just agree, was just a wash? It was just we're all survival. Let's just get to June,
Sure.
Let's just acclimate back to being in front of other people. Last year, which was year 2, that was a tough year too. There was a lot of behavioral issues at our school, and from what I read, it's like a nationwide thing.
Our school, yeah.
It just seemed like all these fires around campus really impeded the school to have that sense of school again. This year, I know we're about 6 weeks in, it feels a little bit better. It feels like the kids are like, okay, okay, we're back here. I remember this. It's still an issue. Like you still have that apathy there. But at least for myself, I feel like I'm back to being a teacher. As opposed to these last 2 years was just like what are we doing here? How do I manage this? This year I kind of make a conscious effort, like, what, let's go back to why you're here. And it's starting to feel like a better teaching year. I'm starting to get a better results from the students. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm finding it fun again, or it's gonna sound weird, but I'm forcing myself to find the fun in what I do. And I think after COVID, I think I kind of lost that a little bit. I was having a conversation with one of the colleagues, Mr. Juan Cardona,
Mm.
and I had the conversation with him that I felt that I had lost my love for this job and my passion for these last 2 years. And I made a conscious effort this year to say, no, you're in here for a reason. You like doing this. Try to remember and bring back the things that make you like doing this. And it's been a good year so far. I really kind of dug in, and I'm glad to be doing this because, like I said, it dug back into my Kelly Gallagher notes, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I can do this. Oh yeah, I can do that. So I'm really excited. Well, thank you guys.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
excited to get back in the classroom
You have to
tomorrow.
do that sometime, you know.
Yeah.
You know, go ahead.
I was gonna say, remember though, I don't know about your experience, Ozzy or Jacob, but my experience coming off of COVID, the COVID year, was we had to wear a mask all day for one
Yeah.
whole year at our school. And what that did to my teaching was Shakespeare was off the table. I couldn't teach Shakespeare anymore. And that's 50% of the fun because it allows students getting up. You can't teach, for me, I can't teach Shakespeare with a mask because they can't act it out. You can't see their
Yeah.
face. So Shakespeare was
Can't
off
hear
the
them.
table. So yeah, you can't hear them. So much of the speaking portion of the teaching was off the table because you can't hear them.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of, as an English teacher, there goes 50%
Yeah.
of the curriculum.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was similarly like that was a part of the last 2 years. Just I understand why we needed to do it, and I get it, and I'll do it. But it really did kind of get in the way of finding that mojo back. And I'm not all the way back yet because I'm hearing you say Shakespeare, and I still have that sense of fear inside of bringing back big works like the novel in my classroom. I haven't decided to bring back a novel yet. And that's just I'll be the first to admit that that's just me being fearful. But can I do this again? And I know I can. I have that thing like, am I there yet? And I don't know if I need to walk through that.
You're the one who introduced the term to this podcast of the big ass novel.
Yeah.
You know? So
That was for my AP. I'll say that I'll preface what I just said with I don't teach AP anymore. Jacob, as you know, I'm also in charge of the health academy at our school, and
I can't believe you did both.
yes. So you before you left and dropped academy lead on my lap, you said that no one will ever know what we do except you and I. That they're in their shoes. It's basic. You're running a state program with a budget aside from being a teacher, and that balance was just, it's very difficult to do sometimes. So I felt myself, much as I hated it, I had to let go of AP Lit just to kind of find some kind of balance. And this last year, I was validated in doing that because the teacher that took it up, he actually had 8 students pass the AP Lit, and I thought I did the right thing. I did the
And
right
I remember
thing.
it's a small school, so that's pretty big. Those are big
Yeah,
numbers.
it was really good.
Now I was gonna share. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, that's good. I was going to say, because from the last second piece I was going to share regarding the question regarding the COVID, I had this conversation with my colleagues, and it's kind of makes me feel a little relieved because you're talking about you haven't really introduced the novel yet. Like for social studies, I'm looking at short answers, paragraphs, but there are a couple of teachers say, hey, let's do the essay, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I believe in that anymore. Regarding, I know the English department is doing, but I know I have to take care of my content and these short. I want them to be able to, they're having a difficult time writing a paragraph. So for me to have them to do an essay, it's going to take a couple months, and I'm not exaggerating, for them to complete it. And you have the drafts and so forth. And I'm not sure if you feel like because some people thought it was kind of, and maybe I am a little off, but and then others were supportive, but it was kind of a mixed bag. How do you feel about it? I think
I think I'm more with you than not. Like,
Okay.
I know ideally you want these kids to produce these essays and such, but I have to balance that. And going back to Gallagher, like finding that balance. Do I really want to bash these kids over the head with like essay, 5 paragraphs? Or do I want to create a situation in my classroom where the kids might actually enjoy writing, even if it's just a paragraph, 10 years from now, are they going to carry with them, oh, this is the structure for a 5-paragraph essay, which they're not? Or 5 years from now, will they carry with them like, oh, I kind of like to write? And that, to me, that's a no-brainer to me. Like, I don't want, like, if 10 years from now you can be writing a blog, like, that's a win. As opposed to like, oh, I know how to do a topic sentence with commentary. And it's like, they're not going to do that. But if I can walk away with them just like learning to write or loving to write, doing a blog, keeping a journal, something, that's a win. That's a win for me. So,
and even I agree with you 100%. And I introduced this idea to my students of there are other forms of writing. We can read essays, and we could write an essay every once in a while, but not at the same level as we used to. Maybe let's take a breath here, and I introduced other forms of writing, including stand-up comedy, short, like you said, blog posts, because we're in a different world now, and it's not all essay writing. But
I can't remember the last time I wrote an essay.
Thank you. But I'm sure that you've written blog posts, that you've written Facebook comments, you've written reviews. One of the things that I show them when we're doing argumentative unit is Yelp reviews. Like, I find the Yelp review for the Chinese food across the street from the school.
Tasty Goody?
Tasty Goody.
Tasty Goody. I missed that place.
It's Tasty Goody, and we find the Yelp for that, and we read the reviews, and some people are so impassioned about having to pay 25 cents for extra teriyaki sauce, and it comes through, and these kids are just like enthralled with people's opinions, and that serves as a good jumping point for them to start writing on their own, So if they can come out and we kind of look at what made this good, what made this not good, well, how could it improve? And if they can walk away writing a pretty decent Yelp review for Tasty Goody, did my job, right?
Awesome.
Yelp reviews, I agree with you. Also, Reddit, the app Reddit. I've heard stand-up comics say the following. A couple of them say, some of those Reddit posts are funnier or as funny as some of the best comics I've seen.
Yeah.
They are, because you have to be funny in a short, that's not easy.
It's not.
To watch your words, figure out how you're going to say it. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. But, I think the kids I think this generation is more wired to be able to do that because they're a meme generation. And, memes are the visual representation of what you just said, Ruben. You have to be funny in a box, in one box, So you got to really, oh, look at that. Hey, I didn't know you can do that.
Thank you for that.
Hey,
this podcast is going big, Rube.
Man, I'm just bringing it today.
Is that you, Jay? Is it?
No, it's Oz.
It's Oz? Okay.
I think you guys do it. Do a heart thing with your hands. See if that happens.
Oh,
a heart, Ruben. Come on now. No, you boys need to work on your heart. My
we
gosh.
have trouble. We have trouble with love. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
We are not.
No, my goodness.
No,
let me throw a question back at you guys, because a couple of podcasts ago you guys mentioned reading. You were talking about literacy and how the numbers are kind of abysmal right now. Do you find that in your classes? Like, what's the reading situation looking like? Ruben, first you in your English class, because we're both English teachers. How's that? How do you feel the students are with reading in your class?
So it's gone down.
Uh,
And like anything else, you can only measure what you see, and you're not sure if this is broader. But I notice that what we mentioned before, behaviors are up, but also reading is a little bit down. But I'm a grizzly old veteran, and I know how to address that. So it didn't bother me as much because we were on it. And as I've mentioned before in other podcasts, first week or so, measuring the students' reading, and then we have a hierarchy or levels even within our class, and then I put them in reading groups, and I have staff, and we work with them in different reading groups. But so it didn't bother me so much, but
okay.
that's where
Jake, I know, like for Ruben and I think we have the luxury of kind of bringing in some fiction and some stuff that's kind of fun. But your social studies, not to say that that's not fun, but your reading is more like informative. Like, do you find the kids kind of struggling with informative reading?
Yeah, primary sources. But this year I have 4 classes of psychology, so I'm able to bring some fun articles in regarding like Freud, or like, well, I shouldn't say fun. You know what? It's probably more informative now that I'm thinking about it. It's more informative. It is, but you know what, Oz, I try to have like a little goal every year, like, well, this is what I want to focus on, and because of the COVID and all that, I said, you know what, I want them to speak more in class, and now it's actually a school goal. I didn't know it was going to be a school goal, but so thinking about literacy and how they're doing with that, with their reading and so forth, I've noticed that there are a couple times where they shared and they're maybe reading from their notes and they struggle. I go, oh my goodness, these are juniors and seniors and they're having a tough time with this, and they'll get through it, and I encourage them and so forth. But I realize that I could see a difference regarding they're struggling more than they did, let's say 5 years ago. But I think it's good for them to be able to share out, and as long as I'm there to encourage them, not to say, hey, what's wrong with you, but give them all a chance to do that. But several of them struggle with it. Yeah,
I've found, as far as the speaking goes, I have to do it kind of clandestine, like in a nonchalant, just kind of conversational way. Because if I just say, okay, I'm gonna call upon some people, like they're gonna like, nope,
for sure,
hide behind the hoodie again, so you have to just kind of like conversational, like, oh really, like, oh wow, and then before you know it, you're having a conversation and everyone's listening. And going back to, I asked you guys this because the reading situation, the last couple of years I've been kind of thinking, how do we get these kids reading again, and I might have mentioned it in the last time that we talked, that Gallagher had mentioned that we need to give kids access to high interest books. And so I took that as a personal mantra to create and build my classroom library. And this is like my year 2 doing that. And that has been an idea from Gallagher that has just had the most success in my class. I kind of went through the last couple of years of most popular young adult books, and I created an Amazon wish list. I threw it out there on Facebook, say, friends and family, this is what I want to do. If you can help me out, help me out. Paperback books are so kind of cheap on Amazon. They're like $10 or something. If you can buy me one, I'd appreciate it. I'm so grateful to friends and family because every book on that list got purchased. And that has just been tremendous in my class. It's books that kids want to read. And I have to do a little selling, but once they're hooked, they've taken off. I've gotten kids that are traditional reluctant readers. They've finished books now for the first time since the 2nd grade. And that's just been my biggest aha moment for my class, as far as this Gallagher stuff. It was been really good.
So Ozzy, that is so critical. So I'll tell you what I started doing 2 years ago, and I started doing consistently. And I said, I'll ask the student who's not reading, I have a silent reading time, and you could tell students who just pick up a book and just are doing this.
They're fake reading.
and I'll bring them up. I try to do this also. First day of school, we do a reading an inventory. I'll ask them questions. What books do you like? Sometimes they'll say, I hate reading.
Yes.
And I'll sit down and I'll say, what books do you like? What do you have authors?
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, a student will say, I don't like to read. No.
Yeah.
Then I'll follow up and I'll say, well, what do you like to do? I'm a skateboarder. I like skateboarding. Do you like, can I get you a book on skateboarding? Yes.
Yeah.
You can see. And right there, when they're right next to me, because I forget, there's a video coming out about my day. We did a video, Jake and I, about what I do in my day, because I have a very strange teaching schedule. I'll forget. So I'll say right there, when the student is next to me, I go on Amazon and I'll order the book.
Yeah.
And they'll send me order it.
Yeah.
It's going to come the next day or maybe a few days later. And I've done that consistently. My first year at the school that I had been teaching at, maybe 50% buy-in to silent reading. Now 90, 95.
Yes. Yeah. It's the same. It's the same. I was looking down here at my notes, and there's a boy in my class he's a senior, but he's in my junior class because he didn't pass the junior year. Right? The whole junior year, he's like, I'm not going to do anything. When it came to reading time, my first 15 minutes are silent reading. He didn't want to do anything. He was fake reading, And this year he's back as a senior in a classroom. Now his friends aren't there. It's just him, right? Because he's a senior in a room full of juniors. And he's like, Mr. Do I have to read? I said, let me give you a book. All right. And this is a book. It was called Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds.
Fantastic.
And yes.
Great.
Yes. So I chose that one specifically for this reason. He's a reluctant reader who hasn't read a book in forever. And he has a stigma about reading. And I gave him the book. I showed him the copy. He's like, Mister, it's too thick. Right? It's about yay thick, right? But I told him, look, let me tell you two things about this book, and I guarantee you're going to read it. Number one, I told him what it was about, right? This boy in the inner city, his brother gets shot and killed. So the rules of the streets are that you now have to go take revenge on your brother's killer. That's the rules of the streets. So the protagonist of this book goes up to his brother's room, grabs his gun, goes back to the elevator from his apartment building and starts to go down and find this guy. But every chapter in that book is a floor of that apartment building. And the elevator stops at every floor and the doors open and a ghost of his past comes in. It almost turns into like a ghost story to kind of tell him, like, essentially, like, what are you doing, man? And the other thing I told him was that this book is written in a weird way. It's not paragraphs. It's written in poetry form.
Poems.
So even though it's this thick, you're going to burn through this book in about 2 to 3 weeks. And he finished it in 2 weeks. And he's like, Mister, this is one of the best books I've ever read. Thank you. Thank you. Right.
And he's right. That writer is a genius. Jason Reynolds is a genius. And I hate to, I don't want to walk all over you, Ozzy. That's a great book. We should talk about this channel.
Yeah, we have to do it. We'll do it a separate episode.
It really is, and I've forced myself to, as a reader myself, I'm always juggling 2 or 3 books, right? One that I have here at home, another one, because when they silent read, I silent read as well, and I kind of tell them this is the book I'm reading. I try to force myself to read the books that I have in my library so that I can then tell, oh, try this one, try this one, try that one. The other one that I read and that I found great success with was I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erica Sanchez. And that one is it's a Mexican American author, Mexican American protagonist. And because the majority of our kids are Latinos, they can relate to that. The character of the mom, I have tias like that, like we have family members like that. And the storyline is very easy. It's kind of scandalous, right? It's got a little like novela status. Same deal. A girl in my class, not a reader. Mister, I hate reading. All right, try this one. I kind of made a pact with her. I said, you start reading it and I'm going to read it too. And we'll read it together, right? Nice. So we started reading it and she was just hooked. And she not only was she hooked, that was free advertising. She started advertising that book to her friends. I had to buy 3 other copies just to have those other girls read it. And they were like chismeando over it. Like, oh my God, did you get to this chapter? Oh my God. I got teenagers to finish reading a book. And
Wow.
at the end of it, same with the boy with the Jason Reynolds book, Mr. What else can I read? Now they're putting me on my toes because I got to find other books to keep them going, and that's been a bit of a challenge, but it's a good type of challenge.
That's what we teach, man. I mean, what you're doing right there. I mean, that's why you come home and you go, man, I did something got accomplished today. Something got accomplished.
Yesterday, I got a same thing with you, Ruben. Like if they want a specific book, I jump on Amazon right there and I grabbed it yesterday. I have one copy of Girls on the Verge, right? I haven't read this, but it's a thing in my class. There was a student that was reading it, and another student wanted to read it, but that first student was just like a third in, and she's like, "Mister, I don't want to wait. I really want to read that book." And I said, there you go. So tomorrow morning, you got your own copy, girl, and I kind of use social media as my friend here too, because if a lot of the kids are on TikTok, think what you will about TikTok, I love it, I hate it. But I tell them, if you guys are on TikTok, do a hashtag book talk, right? And you start seeing all these videos of people advertising these books. They're giving you synopsis, they're getting emotional about it. And you'll always get kids coming back saying, "Mister, can you get this one? Can you get that one?" And there was another series too. There was another one. Someone wanted this one, How It Feels to Float. So I got it. There was a series books that one of my 10th graders was reading, and she's like, she was so funny. She told me this week, "Mister, this is a series book, and I'm almost finished with number 1. How quickly can you get number 2?" And I'm like, "You're making me spend my money here," but I love it. I love it. Because that guarantees her to keep on reading. And I got all that from Gallagher, and it's one of the most successful things that I've ever had in my classroom.
I want to reinforce what you're saying in this way. When you respect a student enough to care about what they're reading, to read with them, to order a book that they ask for that you are suspicious of, Girls on the Verge, like, all right. It says, I have a student who painted something for me, who I say, I don't like Taylor Swift, but I'll indulge her in a way.
Yeah.
You're at least caring enough. You will get buy-in, and you talk about student, not just buy-in, but a lot of people have trouble with
building that relationship with that student.
Behavioral issues and connections, and this answers those problems as well, or answers those questions as well as student reading. So it's not just engaging with the reading, but classroom management issues.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. And classroom management, because you're building that teacher-student relationship. And if there's the biggest factor of behavioral issues in a classroom is the teacher, right? We're the biggest factor that can either tone things down or just accelerate things to a crazy status. And if I can build a one-on-one respect with you, some kind of connection with you, that goes miles. Not just for classroom management, but just having them produce work, and that it goes such a long way. I was gonna piggyback off of that, and now I forgot, but it'll come back. But yeah, but definitely the book thing was that I remember now. You guys in a couple of episodes ago, you guys were focusing on the going back to phonemics and just to address the literacy issue. And I've seen those articles, and I've gotten those PDs. And am I bad for kind of being not skeptical, but as a high school teacher, do I really want to go?
No.
Like, do I want to do that? And I don't. No. I feel like I shouldn't do that. Like, I feel like, let me just tell me what you like, and I'll find you something that you can read, and just read. That's just, how do you learn to play the piano? You can just get on there and start messing around, Am I bad in saying that? I don't know.
No,
maybe it was more of an elementary thing, but
No, I think there was a miss. Not to paint Jacob as a villain or me as a villain. One of us might have said the word phonics. Let's go back to phonics.
yeah.
Might have been me. And I
We'll
think
check the tape.
it was a misnomer. Like, I think what one of us meant was, let's go back to the basics. Don't forget the grammar. Don't forget.
Okay, yeah.
Don't forget science. I don't know what it meant exactly. Let's go back to
Back to the basics, not so much, yeah, like the
Means-
phonics. Yeah.
Thank you.
My hair will go white if that.
Yes.
I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
Like, why would I be talking like well, I do talk out of my no. Hey,
Like,
listen.
I get it. Like, maybe that would be more towards elementary, and I'll be the first to show me the research, show me the path forward, and I'll be the first to try it. But as a teacher of 11th graders, like, do I want to go down that route, or can I just find you something that you have some interest in and just read? Can I just get you to read? You know, and like that boy and like that girl, you finished a book, and that's an accomplishment. They felt great about it. So hopefully this will be the beginning of a journey for them. And again, 10 years down the road, if they're still reading stuff that they like, did my job.
Yes, you did. Hey, you know what? With that, Osvaldo, I just want to thank you again. I mean, I really thought we were only talking like for 10, 15 minutes. And we just, because you brought some great strategies, reading and writing. And I've been exposed to him a little bit more, but I'm not an English teacher, but I still could bring him inside my classroom because I have. But to hear you and even thinking about some of the things that you want to do in the future, it's just it just helps and encourages me to press on as well. And right, Ruben, it's great having you on, man, and I appreciate you doing that for us.
I'll be here.
You not only make us smarter, there's one other thing that you do whenever you come on. You inspire. Like, I get
oh yeah, for sure.
Get encouraged and inspired. So
thank you. And I got Ruben to apologize.
Oh,
to Jake.
I'm not lying, you guys. I almost got emotional, and I'm not kidding. And God's
parents done that. Couldn't even
anytime.
With that, thank you for joining. There we go. Thank you for coming with us on this little ride today with Osvaldo Gomez, and we will see you soon on Pod and Deliver. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.